I think that when it is that we embrace anything, this is my philosophy anyway, is that you don't cherry pick, you look at things in totality. Now, once it is we took over rugby, we had to put a blueprint in place. Our blueprint had got to mirror two things. One, the culture of us as Ghanaians, and secondly, the philosophy of rugby as World Rugby and Africa Rugby saw it. And in having stakeholder meetings, pulling it together, dealing people in World Rugby, it was very easy to put together a program, which we've put together, which probably goes over 10 years. The initial plan is 5 years. Within that, there are certain requirements that are required in terms of compliance, which is what we've tried to do, which is why I think we've become World Rugby members in a very quick time, in less than 3 years. Within the context of that, we have to develop rugby at youth level, at female level, and geographically right around the country. Now, it's easier said than done. So you've got to actually take it from paper and put it into reality, which is what we've done. World Rugby has a program called Getting Into Rugby. I'm old enough to understand that as a kid, I started playing rugby at the age of 6. We had touch rugby. The concept is exactly the same. And this form of rugby that is played by children is played by both women and by men, by girls and by boys, as a precursor to getting into very serious and more serious rugby. And we've tried to encourage the systems to work, i.e. the systems being the Ghana education system, the ministries of youth and sports, but as you know, successive governments don't view their roles or don't see that they could help just at a touch of a pen. So that's become very difficult to get the outreach in terms of school participation. So we have a lot of great volunteers who've gone out there and made sure that a lot of schools do look at the possibility of getting into rugby as part of the program. That program, as I've said, is for both men and for women, boys and for girls. Now, with respect to women, you've either got to have the will to do it or not, and I have the will. And I've ensured that the presidents of both the Greater Accra and the Central Western region and others to come understand that getting into rugby is the core of the development of rugby in the country, and therefore for women and for men. As with every plan, you can only make it work if you have the individuals who are committed to making it work. And I certainly am committed, and some of my executive understand that bigger picture. You've spoken to Rihanna Lan, there's Steve Noy and others who are very much committed to this program. And we've made sure that the presidents, Aziz and James Nunu and their team, understand that this is the overall philosophy of where we're going. We've been very lucky in Greater Accra that we've got Rafatu, an extraordinary young lady, who happens to be a Muslim lady, but also very focused, being polite, hard-headed as well, if you can use that phrase at the same time, in pushing for what is important to her, and that is the development of the women's game, whether Christian, whether Muslim, but obviously being Muslim, she pushes that very hard. And she's doing that within the context of GIR and within the context of our overall program, and successfully so. And this year, for the first time, we're able to launch a female league, which ended very successfully. Successfully in terms of the number of teams that participated, successfully in terms of the range of people who were involved in terms of religion, ethnicity, and so on and so forth. Great success in terms of the fact that it was played well, the rules were observed, injuries were low, and morale was high. So it was absolutely sensational. Now, our challenge is to expand it further. So we're looking to increase the number of teams in the league by another 50%. We're looking to change the league structure within the next 18 months. So it might not be next year, but the year after, to have full 15s. And therefore, you are now preparing Ghana to be able to get onto the world stage and compete at global level. Everything starts from a certain point. But I am proud. I'm very proud and honored that we have women involved in the game. I'm very proud and honored that the women who play, as with the men in Ghana, come from less privileged backgrounds. You know, rugby in Europe is played amongst the elite, It's not done so in Ghana. So we're back to the old days of almost like amateur rugby. People are doing it because they want to do it, not because you have to pay them to do it. And that is wonderful. Rugby is a game that brings discipline, is based on discipline, that brings respect and ensures teamwork amongst people. And I think that this sort of culture, which is rugby, is now permeating into society, the very society that these people, these young ladies come from. And you're therefore seeing stronger women who are respected by the men who are involved in the game. And that makes me happy. And I think Ghana is at the forefront in terms of pushing this. Interview me next year if I'm still around, and we'll see exactly how far we've gone. But I've got a commitment, certainly, to taking the women's game a lot further than where it is right now.